Hello everyone, welcome to this fantastic episode of the Gamepodular Unfocused podcast. I am your host, Scott, and with me, as always, is Hilka and Seskra. How are you both this evening, for me?
I'm doing great. Nothing much to say. Things have been going really well. I got a new desk recently. Well, new. I replaced the legs on my desk with electric ones, so now I can raise and lower it with buttons instead of removing screws and physically wrenching my desk up with my own back because I live by myself. So that's been good.
Have you got your chair situation sorted?
No, it's still broken, and I'm still using a dining table chair. I'm waiting to hear back from the manufacturer to see if it's fixable. I've been waiting all week. But hey, I guess this means I'm sitting at my desk less. So that's a positive, I suppose.
It's always good to stand rather than sit.
It is. Sitting is the new smoking, as people love to say.
Yeah. My watch is always telling me, make sure you stand up every so often.
Mm-hmm. I stand up during every podcast recording, just so there's no creaking noises from sitting on chairs.
And of course, we regularly take breaks to stand and hydrate during our streams that you can catch on twitch.tv/Gamepodular.
Ooh, that's a fantastic segue.
Thank you. I've been cooking that one all morning, and by all morning, I mean for the last 8 seconds.
Yeah. And how are you today, Seskra?
I'm very, very good. 2 games that I had been waiting a very long time to get release dates for finally got release dates pretty recently at time of recording.
Yeah, within days of each other, which was very cool.
Yeah. The one that people can probably guess is Hollow Knight Silksong. Like, me and Chex Notes, everybody had been waiting for that for a very long time. I literally celebrated the 2,000 day anniversary of the announced trailer dropping a few months ago. It's been a while. It's been a while. But it's finally coming out in Chex Notes like a week and a half, which is insane.
Yeah.
But very, very much looking forward to that. And then the other one is Unbeatable, which is a rhythm game that I have been eagerly anticipating for a very long time. The demo is already one of my favorite things I've played in a very, very long time. So look forward to that episode in November.
Yeah.
No, that's nice.
How about you, Scott?
Oh, well, me. Nothing really. I always say there's nothing really wild and exciting. I don't have anything interesting to say. My personal life. I don't have any. I haven't been waiting around for a highly anticipated 2,000-day-old waiting game. I haven't had my furniture broken. No, I'm just being a boring old sod, really. Which is, I guess, fine. With the climate, with the way the world is at the moment.
There's nothing in the rules that says a sod can't be boring.
Yes. Well, thank you both for joining me on this. I'll remind everyone that we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Gamepodular. You get up there. Throw us a couple of $1 dues if you'd like. Just if you can. If you're not, no pressure. You got to take care of yourself, as we always say. Make sure you are taking care of yourself. But if you can spare a few $1 dues, it would help us with the podcast. Also mentioned that we do have a Discord. You can join us at the lively Gamepodular Discord community, and you can go to our site on gamepodular.com to get all the links with show episode notes, show episodes. Also, you can get on your popular services like Apple Music and Spotify. So yeah, fantastic.
Also, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@Gamepodular and @Gamepodular streams highlights.
Or as it should have been called, Gamepodular, but I digress.
Oh yes. You will not let that down until the day we all die.
I will die on that hill, and my tombstone will say Gamepodular.
and with that respect, we also do have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Gamepodular. Get into that with our weekly streams. We've been playing. We'll discuss today the game both been playing.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of fun. And just good to get into with all our fans.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to what we've been playing for this month.
yeah.
Okay, so the first game I've been playing, I've actually been playing this recently, is Azure Striker Gunvolt. That is a bit of a mouthful. This is developed and published by Inti Creates. They are, from my eye, probably most well known for the Mega Man Zero series. Also Mega Man ZX. Also Mega Man 10. It's Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10. So yeah, that's quite the repertoire. Yes, this is
Oh, sorry, and Mighty Number 9, I'm reading here. Oh, they were co-developers on that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Let's not give them too much of a black mark on them.
That wasn't their idea. They just joined in on it.
Yeah. But this is a very much a sort of spiritual successor to the Mega Man X series, or I would say more specifically Mega Man Zero series. Side-scrolling action platform game. You take control of a character called Gunvolt. They have unique abilities where they're able to obviously jump, and the way the combat works in this game is that you are. Where you stand in Mega Man games, you're running and gunning with different type of weapons. This game, however, you do have an attack, but the attack is more of a tag. So you hold the button to sort of randomly, and then once you tag an enemy, you then effectively have a sort of an electrified barrier, and this allows you this is sort of your main attack. This will allow you to sort of go at enemies and just obliterate them in a sense. But it's also used to sort of power up certain aspects of the level, say like an elevator or a platform. You'll get like, for example, like a certain situation where you get like a platform that's you have to control, but there's sort of beams that are shooting sort of towards you. You have to use the electrified barrier to sort of control the platform, and then that platform is able to block the shots that are coming out.
So how does this barrier function? Because you tag enemies, is it like a shield that appears around you while you're walking? I'm having trouble visualizing it.
Yeah, so sort of like an electrified aura. So it's like a circle that's around the character, and then anything that's within that, and once you tag an enemy, it'll sort of shoot off an electrified spark towards them.
Gotcha.
That's how you sort of attack. That's how you sort of attack the enemy. This is I've been playing this. This is actually this has actually had 3 games. It was originally released for the Nintendo 3DS.
My beloved.
But oh yes, I got it originally on the 3DS, but never finished it. It's also pretty much out on everything. They actually did because there's actually 3 games within the series, and they've recently done a I don't know, I wouldn't call it a remaster, because effectively it was sort of a re-release when it came from like 3DS to the modern systems, and then they've sort of done like a package deal. And I had a look, and apparently I had the first game, and I think I had the second game as well. And because I had those, I could get you buy the third game separately, or you can get this package deal, which then combines them all together. It's at a reduced rate, and it actually updates like the first and second games to be more in line with the third game. So I still have to go ahead and play all these games. I'm currently up the first one, just playing the first one at the moment. this has also got a. It's interesting. It's also got sort of a scoring system. So you finish a level, and then you once it then rates you how you went, and then by that it actually got certain like materials that you can get to sort of build new like equipment. So it's funny how you do it. It's got you get rings for your ears. I believe you get feet, and then you've got contact lenses abilities.
Okay.
So it's so you get something like one contact I got one contact lens that allows me to use that'll give me more when I use a recovery item, it gives me more towards it. I've got a feet ability which allows you to do like a double dash, and now I've got a ring ability that sort of helps me when I'm in the electrified state. It reduces the damage that comes towards me. When you're playing this, you actually, as I said, you get a scoring system. It's interesting the way this scoring system works because it's got a multiplier, and you've got sort of 3 states of when you start a level. You've got sort of a coward state, a caution state, and a fearless state. And the way it works is that the middle one, the cautious state, is that you get when you're attacking enemies, you get a multiplier towards this towards the scoring. And if you get hit 3 times, you lose that multiplier.
Okay.
And you sort of want to the way is you want to get at least 3, be under 3 hits. Then when you get to the next checkpoint, then it sort of banks it. The fearless one is that as soon as you get hit, you lose all the multiplier, and then the coward one is that effectively it doesn't matter. You don't lose the multiplier, but when you go towards the end, depending on the state you're in, you get a much higher multiplier towards the end. So it's sort of that risk reward. How good am I? Am I sort of fearless? Can I just go through it no damage, or do I need to be cautious, or am I just do I know I'm always going to get hit? And then use that. It also allows you to sort of advise how much items you get towards the end. You get certain items that allows you to build certain like equipment.
This seems like a system that's designed to encourage replaying the game. Because first, like, you do it on normal or coward just to, like, try it out, playing the levels for the first time. And then as you get better, you replay it on fearless, probably.
Yeah, and it actually does, it encourages that because you actually do get a challenge system. And it'll actually go through, okay, these are the challenges you can do. You can assign 3 challenges. And challenges is sort of like, okay, I'll beat this level with like a B ranking or above. Another one is beat this level in 8 minutes or less. And then another one would be do this with a certain condition in the level, like make sure that the gates, that you actually outrun the sort of gates that close down on you. So it does encourage you to replay the levels and then redo it again because it'll up those challenges. So it'll go like from B ranking to say like A ranking, and then to S ranking, and then 8 minutes down to lower minutes. So it does. You're right. It does allow you to it encourages you to do replays.
And are there like interesting and meaningful rewards for like beating those challenges?
The rewards are pretty much you get the materials to build the better equipment.
Gotcha. And are those randomized, or is it like to get this specific material, beat this challenge in this amount of time kind of thing?
Yeah, it will. It's not randomized. It will say on the challenge what you will get when you complete this challenge.
Gotcha.
So yeah. When you're actually playing through, like towards the end, when you beat the level, you will get certain materials as well. Those are somewhat randomized. It doesn't go. You get like 15 slots, and then depending on how good you get within the level, and then also these certain medals that you collect with it, you get, say, like, it'll tell you, okay, you've earned 3 you can open 3 of these, like sort of like chests effectively, and then depending on medals you get, okay, you can do 5 more on that. So it sort of encourages you to play as quickly and play as efficiently as you can. Okay. It is a standard like Mega Man game, so you get into the you get into sort of a boss fight. It's not so much like an element, like say with standard Mega Man games, fire beats ice, electricity beats, water beats electricity, so forth. These are more so how your tagging gun works. So you standard one is like you just 3 shots rent, like consecutively. You get one that you can do a charge shot that shoots 3 and gets multiple enemies. So like that. You will also get a leveling system. This leveling system will allow you to lock 7 abilities. So one will be you just tag it, you press it, and then like this big electrical field just comes out. Another one might be it'll revive some of your health. And also, apologies, when you're using this electrified ability as your main attack, the meter will go down, and then if you lose it all, it has to heat. It overheats. You have to get back up, and you can't use it at that time. But you can actually sort of recharge it by just double tapping down.
Okay.
And so you're constantly, you're making sure that you're attacking as much as you can, but you're not running out and quickly double tapping. This is annoying because I'm playing it docked on Switch 2, and Switch 2 Pro Controller. While I love it, the D-pad is not the best. And so you constantly, we're doubling down. If you're double tapping down, you're sort of it might do the first one down, but then like the next one might be down and right, so it registers that. What I've actually done, I've got the Pro Controller, so I'm actually doing the left back button as down.
Nice. Good workaround.
Yeah. Funny enough, this isn't actually a problem with the handheld, because the handheld, you've got that, you got the 4 buttons at the D-pad, so you just press down like that.
Yeah.
So it is very much a Mega Man Zero game. I'm currently up to the final boss at the moment. They've been kicking my bum a bit. It's going to be a bit of a slog to get through, but I've been enjoying it. It's got interesting dialogue. You're sort of like a group that goes around. You have to effectively capture this VTuber who's been going around singing songs and sort of manipulating everyone. Turns out the VTuber is being controlled, and so you rescue them, take them back to your apartment. The story is...
That's a very modern premise for a game that came out on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Very forward thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But no, I've been enjoying it. I will say this final boss doesn't kick my bum too much. Hopefully get more in the series. I've still got 2 more to go. So yeah, that's sort of my take on Azure Striker Gunvolt.
It sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's one of those things. It's very much like a pixel style sort of a. Wouldn't you have 16-bit sort of 16-bit going on 32-bit pixel style?
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks very low res, but looks very detailed.
Nice.
As this originally came out on the 3DS, so yeah, the resolution with that. And so it's just nice to see. Yeah, it's so good. Now, from one 2D platformer to another, more known 2D platformer, Sasra, you've been playing some Hollow Knight, but not in the way most people have been playing. How's that gone for you?
Yes, I have cracked open the forbidden brew that is oft whispered but rarely seen, by which I mean it's very easy to set up. No, I've been playing it with a randomizer mod. Specifically an item randomizer. You can set it up so it randomizes so much more than that. We'll get to that in a sec. But yes, Hollow Knight was the first game I ever ran with a randomizer mod, and I love it so much. I love Hollow Knight in general, to be clear. Like, it is one of my favorite games. If I had to guess, it's somewhere in the top 5. Mm-hmm. But I think the randomizer mod does add a certain je ne sais bug to it. Like, it's a way of making it feel fresh. It's a way of making you think outside the box. And I think it's a really good game for it, because the tool chest is big enough that you're, depending on how you configure the mod, you can decide exactly whether or not you want to torture yourself, essentially. Because, like, when people do something like a Super Metroid randomizer, which is also very fun, to be clear, like, Super Metroid randomizers are great, but sometimes you do get a seed where it's just like, well, I'm going to have to learn infinite morph ball jumping, because it's the only way I'm going to, like, make it through this. The Hollow Knight randomizer, you can set it up that way. Like, the randomizer essentially has tiers of difficulty / convolutedness, where it's like, okay, do you feel comfortable doing like minor skips? Do you feel comfortable doing frame perfect skips? Do you feel comfortable doing things that only barely work? And that way you can tune it exactly to your level of proficiency with the game and familiarity with its systems. So it's a very accessible randomizer as these things go. I also like it because the people making it are absolutely insane and found things to randomize that you wouldn't think of normally. Because normally, you know, if you're familiar, I should explain, I suppose, for anybody listening who isn't familiar actually with randomizers. Hollow Knight is a 2D, you know, Metroidvania-style platformer, side-scroller. And your progress through it is dependent on finding certain items. Things like, you know, a double jump, or a wall climb, or a dash, etc., etc. And each one of those will let you access new bits of the map to explore more and more, yada, 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 yada. And what a randomizer will do is scramble where you find those. So things get moved around such that, you know, normally where there would be the double jump, now there is the ability to swim in acid. If you want to know where the double jump is, maybe check the shops, because the shopkeep might have it. That kind of thing. And what I like about the Hollow Knight randomizer, and this is something you can opt out of if it's a little too spicy for you, but one thing you can do is split things that are normally one single whole into parts to be scattered around the map. So things like the dash. There's normally in the game a dash and then a shadow dash that comes with iframes. I think the shadow dash is still one single item, but the dash can be split up into dash right and dash left. See, also, wall jump can be broken up into wall jump right, wall jump left. And my favorite example is the nail, your basic attack. Because every time I play this randomizer mod, I set it so that I start with just attack down. The other directions of attack are things you have to find in the game.
That's the example I always give when I tell people about this. And oh my god, I get some very spicy reactions. I cannot imagine myself doing something like this. Like, it is super clear to me. I've watched you like stream this over Discord, and your mastery of the game systems is extremely impressive. This sounds like torture to me. I would never want to do this.
Like I said, you can opt out of that if you want. You can have it be a very gentle vanilla randomizer if you wanted to, but I like a little bit of pepper in my salad. So I will be like, yes, absolutely. I want to start the game only being able to slice down, which you can't even do when just standing on the ground. You have to be jumping and slashing down. So your first couple boss fights are probably going to involve a lot of pogoing, as we call it. And there's also things like, normally speaking, you can't swim in acid. That's something that you find in the game proper. But do you want to start the game not being able to swim in water either? Do you want to start as a water-soluble bug knight? You can do that if you want. Do you want to start the game not being able to heal?
No.
I do. And it's always somewhere out there. It's always findable. It's just a question of, do you know all the places where you can find it? And do you want to go through that effort. I remember the last time I used a randomizer run, I beat it never once having found the ability to slash to the left. I beat the final boss without being able to slash left. Because, it's fine. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. It's doable. Speaking of the final boss, that was easily my biggest hurdle, as it should be. But without getting into specifics for the people who haven't played it, I will say that one of the things that got added to Hollow Knight post original release, nowadays it's in every version you can get, but originally the game came out with base content, and then they added a couple free expansions over time that are now just always included. One of those is an ending that requires you to do a boss rush of every boss in the game, and all of them are harder versions than what they are in the base game. And there's only a handful of opportunities for like healing up and customizing your loadout along the way. It's 42 boss fights.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And they get spicy towards the end, let me tell you. Like, eventually I reached the Zen state where I could very easily make my way through the first, 36 or so. The last 6 are pretty rough, and the last one, the harder version of the secret final boss, woof. I'm not gonna lie, folks. I struggled with that one this time around. I've beaten it before, but I struggled with it this time to the point where I was always like, am I getting old? Is this what's happening? Have I peaked as a gamer? TM. I spent a good 3 days just grinding away at that. Luckily, thankfully, you don't have to go through that entire gauntlet in order to practice that fight. You have to go through the entire gauntlet in order to beat the game that way and get the ending. But once you reach that final boss, even just once, there is a boss training room, essentially, where you can do every boss without having to do, the grind up to it.
Nice.
And so that is a big, big, big relief. I did eventually manage to beat him, and I was extremely proud of it. I was also absolutely exhausted afterwards, because the adrenaline crash I experienced basically turned me into, just a massive couch potato for the rest of that night. I was in Discord calls with people afterwards, and I literally put pillows on my desk so that I could just, flop down while talking to people. Just be like, yeah, that's just nice. Night. So yeah, I very highly recommend, if you've played Hollow Knight and you liked it and you want to go back but you want something new and something different, try a randomizer. It can go beyond just randomizing items, although the items can go absolutely bonkers if you want. Because normally, by default, things like money, or geo as it's called in the game, is not included in that pool. It will randomize items but not money. You can include money. You can include all the money in the game, including from every breakable rock in the game, if you want.
Oh my god. Holy
and
crap.
You can include lore, if you want, in that pool of read this bit of lore that we have here. That might give you an item now. You can include every blade of grass in the game in the pool.
Oh no.
And I have in fact beaten the game that way.
So I had a question for you, because
Yes.
you've talked about this to me a couple of times, and the one example you always give that at the time you weren't going to be doing, but I'm wondering if you're going to do it now, or if you have done it since. There was a randomize the randomizer setting or something that
Yes.
I hope I'm not
randomize the
misremembering.
randomizer.
How does that work, and have you done it since?
The way it works is there's sliders for when you start. Normally when you get your randomizer run set up, which I'll talk about a bit more in just a sec. You can configure it using things like what kind of skips do you want? What do you want included in the pool of things that are randomized. What do you want to start with, etc. And the way the randomizer works is you don't get to see what those get toggled to before you start playing.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yep.
You just click the button and it's just like, well, good luck.
Here you go.
Like,
yeah.
What the hell?
I haven't done that yet. I'm not going to lie. I might do it now before we get around to Silksong, which I still can't believe we're getting a release for Silksong. Like, and I can't believe that it's actually like, this isn't a Duke Nukem Forever situation where it feels like it's being done out of a sense of begrudging obligation. It's just like, everybody's actually looking forward to it. I'm very excited about Silksong, but I digress. As for getting the randomizer set up, you might be like, oh, I don't know. I don't mod games very much. Is this going to be hard? No. See, what you do is you just Google Hollow Knight randomizer, and the top result will be the Hollow Knight fan wiki, where pretty much the first thing in that page is going to be a link to the Hollow Knight mod manager. It's called Scarab. And that'll let you just, with like a single click, install a whole variety of mods for you, and it'll configure them for you automatically. One of which is just the randomizer. It's called Randomizer 4. It used to be that you would need a very specific version of Hollow Knight. Fun, quick aside. The reason I started using GOG Galaxy is because of this mod. Back when I first tried out this mod, you needed a very specific version of Hollow Knight in order to play it, and Steam didn't let you go back to that earlier version, and neither would like just the latest release for GOG on the GOG website. You would have to download GOG Galaxy so that you could go back to the earlier version. Nowadays, that's not a requirement anymore. If you have it, if you just download Hollow Knight from GOG or from Steam, it will work. It won't work on console versions, obviously, which is a shame, but what are you going to do? But yeah, Steam or GOG, it'll work just fine with the latest version. And there are some nice quality of life features built in there as well. There is an option for, like, Hollow Knight has benches that essentially work the same way as bonfires do in Dark Souls. It's like reset enemies, but also refill your health, let you customize things, etc., etc. The randomizer by default will come installed with a sub-mod for it, essentially, that lets you warp automatically between bonfires. Once you have, between benches. Once you have actually like found those benches and sat on them.
Oh, that's not a feature by default. Interesting.
It is not, no. I would recommend using that feature for the randomizer just because there are very, very, very tricky things you might need to do in the randomizer in order to get a certain place, and I don't think it's unfair to say, look, I did it because I got here. I don't want to have to do it again every time I come back here. I've proven that I can. Now I just want to get there.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Also, here's a quick little example of this is your brain on randomizers. And this is a genuine actual tip for anybody listening trying this at home. Be very careful about upgrading your nail to increase the damage output. Because there are tricky jumps that in the base game are not tricky, because by that point you'll have a dash or a double jump, or what have you, or a wall jump. The randomizer might ask you to make those jumps before you have those things.
Oh, I know where
by
this is going.
pogoing off of flying enemies. And if you make your nail too strong, so that you kill them too quickly, you might not get enough pogos. You need to keep enemies alive long enough that you can make the tricky jumps.
Oh, my brain hurts.
I've never soft locked myself that way, but yeah, pro tip. Save yourself some frustration, hold off on the upgrades if you can. This most recent run I did, I had a very good time all in all. I will say, very rude. Do you want to know the second last thing I found in the entire run?
Do tell.
The compass charm that shows where I am on the map.
Oh.
Because technically speaking, you don't need that in order to get anywhere, so the randomizer can put it really late in the pool, like really far tucked away, and it's fine, because nothing else depends on it. So yeah, that was rough. Also,
Was that the reward for the Path of Pain in this run?
No. I think the reward for the Path of Pain was I can't remember what it was exactly. I think it was just like essentially a piece of heart. But yeah,
Imagine.
I will say
there's like a real kick to the groin that can happen, where if you randomize a lot of stuff, you do the entire Path of Pain, and it's just like a handful of geo. Like,
I did have to do the there's a flower delivery quest that people who've played the game will know what I'm talking about. Yep, people who've played the game will know this one. There's a optional side quest you can do to deliver a flower to a grave. Slight problem: the flower is as far east as the map will go. The grave is about as far west as the map will go. And if you get hit along the way, the flower breaks. You can repeat the quest if you fail, and the person who gives you the quest will have a fun bit of dialogue of like, well, I suppose I have this other one-of-a-kind, extremely important flower. But, so yeah, you can repeat it, but, it's a not insignificant ask. Like, it helps a lot to know the map well, to have a route figured out. In fact, my usual strategy is I start at the grave and then work my way to the flower, killing things along the way without resting at a bench, so that when I go to deliver the flower, there's no enemies and it's just environmental hazards.
Smart.
That, yeah, it helps a lot. Highly recommend doing it that way. And then I actually did that a couple more times, because like this quest I had to do for this randomizer run, because turns out that's where the double jump was hiding. That was the reward for the quest. Kind of a big one. But fun fact, you can deliver flowers to more than just that grave. In fact, spoilers, you kind of need to do that for one of the endings. But I did that. I delivered 3 flowers all in all. All of them were... I got all of them on the first try, but some of them were nerve-wracking, and one of them, I'm not even gonna lie, I got lucky. I, missed a jump and fell about 4 screens further down than I thought I would, and it's a miracle I did not hit anything along the way. So, But I don't want to let the randomizer mod overshadow the game itself too much. I think the randomizer mod is a great addition to the game, and I do think it makes me love the game even more. But Hollow Knight, the base game, is just incredible. I adore it so very, very much. The soundtrack is amazing. I think all of the characters are really wonderfully written. I love the world. I love the setting. I love the variety of different endings you can get. I love the boss fights, all of them, except for one. You all know the one. Don't lie. There's one.
I don't.
Fight.
So, out of curiosity, which one is it?
So, one of the expansion packs that they added after the fact included a couple extra bosses that are called dream bosses. And some of those are stronger versions of bosses that were already in the base game. Some of them are entirely new. I think pretty much all of the Hollow Knight bosses are really well balanced and really fun to fight, and like essentially when they're at their best, they're like a dance between you and the boss, and I really like them. And then there is Markoth. Markoth is not fun.
Is this the
Markoth
circus one?
No. Markoth is he's a moth. Markoth's the moth. He flies around, shooting javelins at you, with a little shield floating around him, and eventually you hurt him enough that 2 shields pop up, and he throws more javelins at you. It sounds very simple when you say it like that. And it is simple. The problem is, it's basically unpredictable. Like, it's really, really hard to avoid damage in Markoth, and it's really, really hard to get damage in on him without getting hurt yourself, because his movement pattern is very erratic, and the timing of all of his attacks is very unpredictable.
I googled it,
like
and
Markoth.
Oh yeah, I recognize this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact. In the boss practice room I mentioned earlier, you can practice the boss by default. You can practice the harder version, or you can practice them with double damage. And I have beaten every boss in this game with them dealing double damage. Except Markoth. That includes the final boss.
Damn.
In fact, you can practice every boss in the game in a mode where they do one-hit kills to you. And I have beaten almost every boss in the game, except for Markoth that way. I think it's like... I think he is one of 3 bosses that I haven't beaten in the one-hit kill mode. The others being... No, I'm not going to say their names out loud because those will be spoilers. But, yeah. Markoth notwithstanding, I think all of the bosses are amazing and very inventive, and one of my favorite things about that big boss rush at the end is they do throw in fun surprises to catch you off guard, like where it's not just a harder version of a boss, it's we're actually going to do something entirely different. This is essentially like a separate form of this boss that only shows up here, and it's a lot of fun. I think the world is also just very cute. Like, the voice acting is all complete gibberish, but it's very memorable, quirky gibberish to the point where, like, when the announcement for Silksong finally happened, I saw so many people being elated because the shopkeep actually says Papanada, and people are like, yeah, Papanada!
Yeah.
Like, it's Pavlovian for us at this point, how much we love those little sound bites and clips.
I've barely played Hollow Knight, and even I know Bapanada. Like,
exactly, yeah. So yeah, I think the baseline Hollow Knight experience, even without the randomizer, is so good. It's so much fun. It's one of my go-to recommendations in this genre. In fact, probably the go-to recommendation, if I'm being entirely honest. I bought this game multiple times. Like, I've bought it originally on my Switch, which I played mostly... Like, I played it on Switch, I beat it on Switch, even though for most of that time I was using a pretty terrible third-party controller with a really dodgy D-pad. So, not necessarily a big fan of that. And then I played it on PC so much that... was with my old Xbox 360 controller that I still had. Like, it's the one that came with my 360, and I still had it for like 10 years afterwards. I played Hollow Knight so much that it was the game that wore the rubber on my thumbsticks completely down through sheer thumb friction, so that it was just the plastic cores.
Wow.
Yep.
Mm.
If I had any complaints about it at all, and I'm trying very hard to like sincerely think about what that would be, it is possible because the base game doesn't come with the bench warping that I mentioned earlier, it is possible to end up in a very hostile part of the map when you are not unable to get out, but very poorly equipped to get out. Like, depending on how adventurous you are in your explorations, you can end up in a... Let me put it this way. If you've played Dark Souls or are familiar with Dark Souls, imagine that you could just wander right on down into the Tomb of Giants.
Like right from the beginning of the game, or?
Yep. And, to be fair, technically speaking, you can. I don't think there's any... I don't recall, at least, there being a limit on that. I think you can get into Tomb of Giants right away. This is where, like, people are going to call me, like, a fake Dark Souls fan or whatever. But I believe there's no limit on that. But yeah, like... There's a place called Deep Nest. It is supposed to be, late game challenging content for Hollow Knight. If you go looking, you can end up in Deep Nest sort of without expecting it, and get pardon the pun, pretty deep down in there without intending it. And getting out again could be a real ordeal. I had to do that the very first time I played the game, and I did because the game was good enough that I, wanted to persevere. But that's sort of like the one almost like complaint I would have about it. Otherwise, I adore this game so much. I love the silly Easter eggs that are in there, like the sign bug. This isn't a spoiler for anything, so I can just tell you. There is a well that you'll find very early on in the game that you go down in order to access one of the main areas. And a lot of people go down there using the magic spell that's essentially a big ground pound. And that breaks a little sign at the bottom of the well. Like, 1 in every 30 times you go down there, there'll be a bug called the sign bug who's just there to fix that sign that keeps breaking. And you can find the diary of the sign bug where they get increasingly mad about the sign that keeps breaking. And this one jackass who keeps falling down and doing it.
If it were me, I would simply move the sign.
Mm-hmm. But, then it doesn't work as a signpost anymore. But I digress. Point being, I genuinely adore Hollow Knight. I'm very excited about Silksong, as you could probably tell. And I think the randomizer mod is great. It's had a lot of iterations over the years, but at this point, we're on randomizer 4. It's had all the kinks worked out. I really like it. It's easy to set up, easy to get going, easy to tune exactly to the level you want it to be at. And I think if you want to get into randomizers, this one's a really good place to start. It's also just a great test of your knowledge of the map for Hollow Knight. You're a great test of your knowledge of, like, okay, what places have I not checked yet? What places have I not checked? Oh, right, the back wall of the Colosseum of Fools, etc. Like, and it's a great way to just re-experience the game in about as fresh a way as you can. So, give it a go. Like I said, like a Google search and 2 clicks is all you really need in order to get there. And let me know how it goes, honestly. Like, I'm finally on social media again after, like, a self-imposed exile for, like, half a decade. So, yeah, if you do actually play through the Hollow Knight randomizer, let me know how it goes.
And now, that's fantastic. And now for something completely random, Hilka, you've been playing some Portal 2. Actually, I've been playing some Portal 2.
Yeah, I was about to mention, we've been playing some Portal 2, comrade.
Yes.
Yeah. You two should, like, play together sometime.
Oh.
Really?
Well, we're way ahead of you. If you go to youtube.com/@Gamepodular streams highlights, you'll see our complete playthrough of the Portal 2 multiplayer. There's also a 20-ish minute, like, little highlight compilation of the full playthrough that we put together. Well, I put together. Yeah, Portal 2, it's an interesting game to talk about because in some ways it's a game that sort of everybody knows, but I feel like is sort of underappreciated because Portal 1 is has a reputation, rightfully so, as being just like one of the best games of all time. And Portal 2, I don't think gets enough love for being a similar level of quality, right? Like, the writing is still super sharp. And obviously there's memes about like Wheatley and stuff. Like, it is part of popular culture still to this day. But I don't feel like it has as much of a grasp on popular and gaming culture as it should. Admittedly, I'm going to be talking about mostly the multiplayer here because, fun fact, still to this day, I have not finished the single player. This was kind of a funny joke in our last episode in our last stream where we finished the multiplayer about halfway into the stream, and then I just played some single player for a bit and got to exactly the point where I stopped playing the single player last time, and I haven't touched the game since.
Release the Hyuka cut.
We'll have to potentially sort that out with the next lot of streams.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is still installed at the very least.
Yep. I can assist. I can comment.
So again, we're going to be talking about mostly the multiplayer here. And I think when I played Portal 1 for the first time, I never really realized how compelling of a multiplayer experience this could be, because it adds, just having 2 extra portals to work with just adds so many levels to the puzzle designs and the level designs and the way that you solve problems that I couldn't like really wrap my head around it the first time I played it. And when we streamed, it was not the first time I played it. I believe it was the third, but it was long enough between the playthroughs that I forgot most of it. And there's just this great feeling in Portal 2 multiplayer of you get like 80% of the way through a puzzle. It usually happens where like one person gets to the end and the other person has to get there, but it has to be with a slightly different method because there's usually one of those like fields that you pass through that erases all of your portals. Where you think you have it, but then it turns out that you're missing a step. And then when you figure out that last step, you feel like a genius. And that is, I think, where Portal 2, especially in multiplayer, really shines. Because I'm, like, medium at puzzle games, I would say. You know, I've never finished a Professor Layton game, for instance. But having a partner to like swap ideas with, just try stuff out, it's an unparalleled experience, I would say. Cooperative puzzle games, there need to be more of those. I
was just gonna say real quick, like I also don't think the game gets enough credit for like the tools it gives you for communicating between each other, like even just within the game proper.
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously there's little things like, you know, highlight a thing I'm looking at, but you can also share each other's like screens with each other, like directly player to player. And there's a built-in countdown and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the game is very, very good at letting you get across everything you need in order to solve a puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The You'll remember a couple of these moments if you watch the streams, and Scott was, of course, you know, physically playing at the time. But there were a couple of moments in here that were very funny, like in retrospect, because the thing that Portal games do is you get so in the weeds, lost in the sauce, as I like to say, of trying to solve everything with portals, that sometimes you forget that you can just hand things to people. Like... or just like jump, you know, it's those moments that like really not necessarily throw you for a loop, I would say, but they remind you that there are that you do have to use things more than just portals to actually solve a lot of the puzzles. I really like the addition of the gels, like the speed gel and the bounce gel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They're a great way of incorporating more momentum-based puzzles. They're a great way of the bouncing gel. I'd say I'm a little mixed on, just because like the way that momentum works is it's sometimes kind of hard to steer yourself while you're in the air after a bounce. And
Mm-hmm.
I died a couple times from that, but at least there's no punishment from dying. And
sometimes dying is actively a reward because you'll get like a funny line from GLaDOS out of it.
yeah, it's a very memorable one of like right near the end, you're trying to find this big vault, and like you die, or at least I did, and she says like, "What's taking so long? I need you to find the vault already," something along those lines. But it's way funnier than that because it's written very well. And technically, we did find the vault. It's right there. Opening it is a different problem that we're currently trying to solve, but we found it.
Yeah, it's been, technically we did it.
We're technically correct, the best kind of correct.
Mm-hmm. And you think an AI would appreciate that, but here we are.
I do want to shout out the writing in the multiplayer. Like, it's great in the single player, as much of it I've experienced, but the way that GLaDOS talks about humans, because you're playing as robots, Atlas and Peabody, which I now remember are their names, and like all the snarky comments she makes comparing you to human testers, chef's kiss, top shelf stuff every time. The one thing that I have seen people talk about like this year is it was one of those social media things where I assume somebody said something and then 50,000 people replied to it, which is not a fun thing to experience. I've never experienced it myself, but like, oh my God, that sounds like a nightmare. But there was a response that I saw of someone complaining that like, oh, Portal 2 is so, its humor is so like 2011. And I mean, yeah, it came out in 2011. I don't know what you want, but I also don't think Portal 2 gets enough credit for shaping a lot of the humor around that time in video games, right? Like, it is kind of the originator of a lot of joke structures, I would say, that were sort of popular around that time. And whether or not you like it is a personal thing, but I think it works pretty well generally.
Yeah, the reaction to that was a bit, to that post you mentioned, like, was a bit overblown, but, to quote the seminal sociology text of our time, a lot of the internet is 10,000 people bullying someone who really only deserves to be bullied by like 3 people.
Yeah. And I also want to shout out Portal 2, especially the multiplayer, for unconsciously or not being sort of a foundational text for a lot of the like multiplayer horror party-ish kind of games that we're getting nowadays. You're like your repo or content warning.
Lethal Company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they took the structure of you're trying to solve specific problems, everything's a little wacky, and you're doing it with friends, and expanded it into A, more friends, and B, more like traditional horror. Because if you really think about it, the setting of Portal is kind of horror-y. Like, it's kind of post-apocalyptic. I don't know a lot about like the Half-Life series, which it is technically part of. It's in the same universe, at least. but
Mhm.
it's like post-alien invasion or something. It's there's some messed up stuff going on. But then these more modern games, they take it in a more explicitly horror direction. And I am of the opinion that Portal 2 and the way it structured its multiplayer is the foundation that a
An
lot of these were
ancestor.
built on.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think even something like Deep Rock Galactic sort of fits into that same kind of category of like, you go in, you're told you have a job to do. We're not going to tell you about all of the many multifarious complications and dangers along the way. You just do your job.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Didn't you read the fine print in your contract? How
So,
how
I don't think it's gotten its flowers yet, but I do agree with you that Portal 2 is better and more important than people tend to give it credit for.
Yeah. Which is in some ways kind of a weird thing to say, because most people I know would agree that Portal 2 is very good, like legitimately excellent. But I think the point I'm trying to make is I don't think it gets enough credit for how influential it is. How
People probably consider Portal 1 the more... It was the first influential, very influential, and yeah, it's sort of... Portal 2 gets in the wayside, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think Portal 1 benefits a lot from its length. Like, Portal 1 is like 2.5 hours even on your first playthrough. Like, it is very much you will finish this in one sitting.
Yeah.
And that means it, like, get its first impression and last impression and best impression all happen in, like, one sitting. It leaves a powerful impression. And Portal 2, because there is more of it, does not get to feel so tight and complete exactly, even though I would argue that the more that there is good and worthwhile, and like I'm happy there's more. But yeah, it doesn't feel like this bolt out of the blue exactly.
Yeah. And I want to, I know this is sort of the segment where I'm talking, but I want to get some thoughts from Scott as well, because you were, of course, part of this co-op playthrough that we did. And I wonder if you have anything that you want to like speak on or add to what we've talked about so far.
It's just, when playing it, I remember a couple of times you had mentioned when we were playing through, we were struggling with some segments, and you thinking, have we soft locked this? And I remember just thinking, at the time, no, there's clearly, and I know this it seems like it, but they've designed it really well where it's not so much like you gotta jimmy your way into something or say like with your Hollow Knight randomizer playthrough, you sort of work the system, sort of glitch it out or somewhere. It's like there's a clear solution to a particular problem. And once you, as you said, Helka, once you figure it out, you just feel like it just says, that's the problem. And that's what I love about Portal and Portal 2.
Yeah.
I remember playing this because I originally played this on the PlayStation 3. Fun fact, I played this when I rented this out when there were rental stores, and I beat it during the rental period.
Nice.
Had a blast of it, and I think I'm playing with my friend my housemate at the time on the multiplayer. So we did a split screen.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, but it's just it's interesting with the, as you're saying, Sashka, with the communication. I do feel like they do put a lot into it. It's onto how to communicate, especially without voice chat. Like you sort of go, you point in a thing. This is what I think you want you to focus on. But obviously, it's much better if you can communicate with someone like through voice or through text. It's just you just go, you have some laughs, and it's a fun time. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just a really good experience just to go through. Yeah, and I'm glad. It's a shame that. Well, actually, it's because it's on PC. it is out on Switch. They finally fixed it for Switch 2.
Yeah,
But the
that is
only
very
other way you
funny
can play it...
that we
Yeah.
we were complaining about the fact that it didn't work on Switch 2 in the first stream, and by the time the second stream rolled around, they fixed it.
Yeah, it's so funny. But the only other way you can play it is through backwards compatibility with the Xbox 360 with the latest Xbox system. And that runs in 4K, but only runs it at 30 frames per second. But there's no way to play it unless you have a PlayStation 3. So I really do hope, like, down the line, there is sort of like the Portal collection, which I did in Switch. I do it for Xbox and PlayStation as well. I think this was also done on NVIDIA Shield, because I think that the Switch version was based off the NVIDIA Shield one. But no, it's yeah. I just love the moments. Like the moments of like having to get the momentum gel to speed up your momentum, and then you sort of got like I create my own portals to build up momentum, and then you set up your one portal, and then when I'm building up a momentum, you shoot another portal to leapfrog out of somewhere far away.
Yeah,
it's just that thinking. It's just great. It's just, yeah.
Quickly looking around, I can't find anything about the NVIDIA Shield version. There was apparently a version of Portal for the Razer Hydra motion controller, which is I'm today years old when I heard about that. And apparently there's even like 10 extra single player levels that are like downloadable content for that version.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking it up right now, and it is not, in fact, on my favorite punching bag, the Amazon Luna.
Real question is, was it on Stadia?
Or Ouya?
Oh, it was actually on PlayStation 3 using the Portal Move, the PlayStation Move controller.
Oh, that piece of garbage.
Yeah. So here's a question: why is it not on Switch then? Because that's got motion Joy-Cons.
It is apparently on Switch 1.
Really? Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, because wasn't it
least,
like it was on? Because you said that they did the Portal collection for Switch, and then it didn't work on Switch 2 because there were some like it didn't launch properly, and you had to like go to airplane mode or something. I forget what it was, and it doesn't matter anymore because it works now. But it was one of the games on the like it doesn't work properly list of backwards compatibility for Switch 2 until they fixed it.
Yeah.
My only real complaint about Portal 2 is there are some of the like timing based puzzles that I'm not a big fan of. Like there were some puzzles where you're like, you have to launch like a block and it bounces, like either it goes through different portals or it bounces between bouncing pads, and you have to go at the right time to catch it in midair. And I guess that's what the countdown timer in the game is for, but that one didn't really feel like a puzzle and more just like trial and error, you know?
Yeah.
Those are, I think, the weakest puzzling aspects of the game, but that is a super minor complaint in an otherwise just phenomenal game. Like, go play the single player. I know I will at some point. Hey. But even if you haven't played the single player, the multiplayer alone is just... And I know I said that it is a foundational text for a lot of multiplayer games, but even to this day, I would argue there's still nothing that's quite like it. And you owe it to yourself to give it a try, to experience it for yourself. And it's unfortunate in that sense that it's not on modern PlayStation and Xbox in a real way. You can play it on Switch, you can play it on Switch 2, you can play it on PC. So there are options. It's probably Steam Deck verified, if nothing else. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. But Yeah, I hope this game does manage to get its flowers for just being as influential as it is. Because it's excellent and everybody should play it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And speaking of games from a while ago that are put on modern systems and are extremely influential, Scott, I believe you have been playing Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake Street Fighter Turbo Edition.
With hyperfighting DLC. Yes, I have.
Just going to steal that joke from Seskra.
That
You'll be
is
hearing
yes
from my
that's
lawyers.
Yes, that is a mouthful, but my goodness, what a mouthful for a game. Yes, this is Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. This is sort of the HD 2D art style. I think probably like started with Octopath Traveler.
Octopath Traveler, yeah.
Yeah, Octopath Traveler, yeah.
Yeah. That was more of a darker tone, Octopath Traveler. This one is more of a lighter tone. This is excuse me, this is obviously a remake of the original Famicom release from 1988. Dragon Quest III, very popular series in Japan. Yes, this is... because this is effectively a prequel to the original Dragon Quest. Fun fact, my Dragon Quest history, I have played Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, and 11.
Nice.
The original 1, 2, and 3, I had actually played what were considered the mobile ports remade for the Switch and modern systems. They get a bit of flack because they've got like it's like a super high res filter game. But I played them. I loved them. What I love about the Dragon Quest series, it's like innovate. They do innovate, but whereas Final Fantasy does try and very much innovate and go completely different directions from game to game, Dragon Quest does sort of keep it somewhat simple. You are a simple warrior who goes out and fight many monsters. And in later installments, you will get a party system. This is apparently going to be made for the Super Famicom and the Game Boy Color. And the mobile ports, and then this latest one, the HD 2D remake. I actually had a plan for this because this was originally I got this on special, and the plan was I was actually going to go away to a particular place, and which had no internet connection. So I thought, what I'll do, just like get some books and that. I'll also get Dragon Quest. I'm going to put this on because I had the Switch too, but I'm going to put this on my Switch OLED. And so I can play it on my Switch OLED, and then when I go play it on Switch, because it did, at the time, it was the Switch, the original Switch had like frame rate issues, not too major, but did have that, whereas the Switch 2 sort of, because it's beefier system, did smooth that out. Before I actually went on this trip, they released an update for Switch 2, which gave it graphics options. So you had a graphics option and a performance option. The performance option actually ran the game at like 60 frames a second. So the performance difference just became wider. Yeah, but I did play this while I was on my trip during the time. I did love it. I did. It's just a really nice game to just. It's one of those games you can get really in depth into it, but you can sort of you can make it a very chill game, because the way it's obviously an RPG. The way this game works is that you start off. I know I don't want to spoil it too much because I know Hilke, you have just recently acquired this game.
Yeah,
and you've got a couple of hours into it. Yes, this week. So I don't want to get into big major spoilers. But you start the game, and interesting with this one because you start with your main character, but then you don't actually acquire other members throughout your quest. You actually go ahead and actually recruit people. You recruit people with and you start off with 3. You get given 3 people with 3 different classes. So you get a priest, you get a warrior, and you get a mage. Priest being your healer, warrior being your sort of your tank, and mage being your magic wielder. And what I like about this leveling system is that you can actually, as you go throughout the game, you can recruit more people, and you can they have different you can get different traits. So you can recruit like a martial artist, a thief, a merchant.
Troubadour.
You can get what's
right?
called what's that? Sorry,
a troubadour, or like they used to be called jester, but
yeah, I think they might call it now as a gadabout.
gadabout. That was it.
Good word.
Gadabout. This is sort of your joke character in a sense. They're unpredictable, and effectively they're only really useful because they're the only class that can upgrade themselves to what's called a sage, which is a very good class where it sort of combines the priest and the mage. They're the only class, because the way this leveling system works is that you can actually, if you got a character, you can actually level it, change their class to another character, and you want to do that because you still acquire the original abilities from that character and have it with this new class.
Okay.
So hypothetically, say you start off with a warrior for one of your classes, and you decide, you know what, I want to actually I want to have thief. So you can go ahead and transition them from a warrior to a thief.
Fran's right.
They'll go down to about level 1. They still get a little bit of a stat boost, but the way it works is that you still get their abilities and sort of their other stats. So you got you got a tanky thief with the warrior abilities, and so you can you got a calculator, right? You get them out and you can level them up fairly quick early on, and that way then you get all the abilities. So what I did, I turned my priest into there is another item in the game that allows you to turn one of your characters only one time into a sage without having to go through the gadabout class. But I ended up, my class towards the end, I ended up doing a priest to a sage. I did my warrior to a thief and then to a martial artist. So for tanky thief, they can sort of smell treasure and steal items from the monsters, and then they change to a martial artist who's just got quick agility.
Yeah, and high crit rates.
Yep. And that ended up converting my mage to a warrior. So I had a tanky mage, effectively. Nice. But this is, so that's sort of how the leveling system works. Just going around the place. It's sort of, it's not a sort of a linear, effectively like Zelda, where you sort of, only have sort of you must go to this place and this place. You can sort of expand everywhere. You can go anywhere, and the only limitation is, the monsters will just sort of hit you harder if you go the wrong way. But it is the way that the fighting works. You can sort of you can control each character, what their moves are, or you can sort of put it through certain tell them how to fight. So you can fight wisely. You can tell them not to use their magic power. And this is the computer will then just figure out what abilities is best to use. So you'll end up. You have fight wisely, and then you can go around and just sort of grind to level up your character. So it can be, depending on you want to be really into it, or you can be very chill. But when you're fighting, boss enemies. You know, so you have to be very tactical about that. Yeah, I've been playing this. I do like the visual style of this HD 2D remake. As I was mentioned before, it is a much lighter tone than the Octopath Traveler. They did end up the visual style. No, sorry. Yeah, it's just like it's very the movement on this. Because normally like this from the original Dragon Quest games, it's sort of like one tile blocky move each time. Whereas it's more free roaming. You can sort of move an inch if you want.
Yeah.
You do have you can it's very modernized. It does have like difficulty levels. I just play the standard difficulty. It is very forgiving about what it does. It does constantly tell you in the game, yeah, we're going to do we're going to do auto save pretty much every action you do. So if you go into a one level or a cave, it'll do an auto save. If you finish a fight with an enemy, it'll auto save. So it does have that auto save system. It still has you still have the traditional save at a church.
Yeah.
Because the auto save, I believe the auto system only works once. Like once you auto save, it clears it, but then you just go into another thing, and then once you find another, and it'll just auto save as well. So you do have that. So it's sort of
stagger your saves. You have to do manual saves at churches.
Yeah. You don't. It's not a case of you're save scumming, because you just can't save and just reload that in with the auto save. But it does give you a bit more flexibility. But it's I don't want to get too much into it. It's sort of late game because okay, you got that. I don't want to spoil it for you. It's really good. But I finished this roughly about, I believe I put 40 hours into this.
Okay, that's honestly less than I was expecting. I guess because the original version is pretty old by video game standards.
Yeah, I mean, look, the very first Dragon Quest game, that is very short. You can beat that, like sort of like Portal. You can sort of beat that in one sitting.
Damn.
Yeah, but that is a very basic. You've only got one character and you only fight one enemy at a time. I am I with it after visit. I am gonna get the Dragon Quest 1.1+2 remake. That's going to be very interesting how they do that, considering Dragon Quest 3 is very much more evolved than those two. But they had done that in the past. I mean, for the Super Famicom, they did end up doing Dragon Quest 1 and 2 together, and then Dragon Quest 3 is its own separate game. The other thing I'm annoyed about is that with this Switch one, because that's what I played it on, is that I could actually play it on my old Switch and my new Switch. I'm getting a situation, but they're doing a really odd thing with this one where you can't just get like the original Switch version and then sort of like it'll auto download as a Switch 2 version. They're both different games.
Okay.
Whereas this one isn't. So I don't understand why they're doing it that way.
No,
but
that is weird.
Yeah. But that's what they do. But no, I would definitely very much recommend Dragon Quest. If you're new to the Dragon Quest series, I would highly recommend this. Just because it's an easier RPG. I would say it's an easier RPG to get to. It's very much started off as the Erdrick saga.
Yeah. I love Dragon Quest so much. I've played like 5, 11, a little bit of 9. The DS one that had like the interesting online feature, Sentinels of the Starry Sky. I think that's 9, maybe 10.
Yeah.
And I want Dragon Quest 12 to come out so badly. I loved 11 so much. It was such a good game.
Same. Yeah.
And I even played some of the spin-offs. I played the first Dragon Quest Warriors game.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Dragon Quest Builders. I have also played Dragon Quest Monsters and oh, what was that game called? We covered it on the podcast like ages ago. The spin-off Treasures, Dragon Quest Treasures is what it was called.
Yeah.
That game was fine. But Dragon Quest 12 cannot come out soon enough, and I'm glad we're getting these like new versions of the old ones. I hope we can get more of these as well, because
yes,
the DS version of 5 was so good, and I want that, like Sentinels of the Starry Sky. I want to be able to play that because that game's supposed to be excellent, but you can't get the online stuff anymore because it was for the DS, you know. Having a new playable version on modern systems, beautiful. I would want it so badly. I love Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest rules.
Yeah. I'm not much. I prefer Dragon Quest over Final Fantasy.
And I love the regional accents. The the big muscle guys with the bull helmets, they all have the Cockney accent, and it rules.
Yep.
And all the like royalty or Scottish, and
yep.
There's just
you'll like this one. Yeah, you'll like Dragon Quest. So it's got that as well.
Yeah, Dragon Quest. It just has such an impeccable vibe to it that no other like traditional style JRPG series that I've ever played has been able to replicate. Not that I think a lot of people have tried. Most of the other ones I've played tend to go more in the like sci-fi inspired Final Fantasy-ish style. But just a good old-fashioned, very traditional medieval-ish fantasy RPG with some steampunk elements. That's just very charming. You cannot get something better than Dragon Quest, I would say.
Yeah.
I know it's very specific, but it's true.
Now, from the likes of Alahand in Dragon Quest III to the realistic place of Rome, Saskia, you've been playing some Rome Total War. Have you won this war?
I have, indeed. Would you believe I've won more than one war? The first one did not take, so we needed some follow-ups. But eventually...
yes.
Yeah. This started out as me wanting to play Shogun 2 Total War, which, in a lot of ways, is a better game. It came out much later in the series, and they had Creative Assembly had a lot of time to iterate on ideas. I eventually dropped off Shogun 2 for the same reason I dropped off it the first time I played. I've been thinking of the diplomatic way to say it, and I couldn't think of one, so I'm just going to say it. Shogun 2 is boring. It's very samey and very boring. It takes a while for you to realize that, but like, I'm sure the different clans feel different to play. They don't feel different to play against, is the problem. Your entire campaign is essentially fighting what feels like the same kind of enemies and the same kinds of civilizations over and over and over. Which is kind of what happens when you set your entire game in a single country going through a civil war, rather than a wider theater where you can have different cultures and different types of units. So I felt that pang of sameness. I felt myself getting bored, and I was like, I still want to play Total War, but I want to play something with more variety in it. I'll play Rome. And I do own the remaster. They did a full remaster of Rome Total War, and I'm just going to say this now. If you haven't played the original, play the remaster. It fixes a lot of things. It lets you set basically everything, almost everything, to the way the original game played if you want to experience it that way. But there's a lot of very good balance tweaks. There's a lot of good fixes. It runs very smoothly on modern hardware. All of that. Highly recommended. If you have played the original, you might not want to play the remaster, because I stopped playing the remaster and switched to the original, which I still own. I don't think you can get it on Steam anymore. It's been delisted in favor of the remaster, but I still have it from when it was available. And I stopped playing the remaster for one very simple but overpowering reason. One of the only things you can't toggle between old and new in the remaster is the UI for the world map. And that'll show you things like all of your settlements and how much money they're making, the like level of general contentment among the populace. Like, oh, the people here are really happy. The people here are about to revolt. Maybe get on that. And in the remaster, some of those elements, some of those little info points disappear when you zoom out and reappear when you zoom in. And I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I want to be able to look at the map and see what my settlements are doing. Don't make me zoom in and then scroll all around. It was driving me up the wall. I was looking at mods to fix it. None of them actually worked because this is apparently like very hard coded in. There's mods that make it slightly better, but not good enough. And then I remembered, oh wait, I still own the original. I could just play that. So I did. Rome Total War. If you haven't played a Total War game before, the gimmick is they split the difference between real-time strategy and turn-based strategy. Combat is real-time. All of your economy and, like, realm management is turn-based. So you will, like, battles will distinctly and discreetly start when you attack or get attacked. But otherwise it is a turn-based affair. And Rome very much fixed the issue that I was having with Shogun 2. Because Shogun 2, everybody is samurai. Like, there are very minor differences between the different clans, but everybody is samurai. In Rome, it's like, okay, you got your Roman factions that are all pretty similar. Minor differences, but pretty similar. But then there are Greek factions, like, you know, the Greek cities and Macedonia, that play very differently. There's Germanic barbarians that play very differently. There's Egypt, which is its entirely own separate culture that plays very differently. There's the Numidians, and there's like cultures that sort of blend the differences between these two, like the Thracians that are like partially barbarian, partially Greek. You got the Seleucids that are a mixture of Greek, but also Eastern Parthian style with a little bit of Egyptian thrown in. Not that that usually matters because the Seleucids usually get dogpiled. But I digress. It's not my favorite Total War game. I think that's still Medieval 2. Medieval 2 takes everything from the first Rome Total War and refines on it, iterates on it, adds nice additions like the ability to actually have prisoners of war after a battle, and how you deal with them determines a lot of like diplomatic relationships and stuff. I think Medieval 2 is sort of still the peak of the series for me personally, but Rome is a very nice, very strong version of it, a very nice iteration of it. I think there's a layer of intricacy and subtlety that I really enjoy. It really sort of tickles my autism in the right way of how do I get my realm to work as best as I can with the tools at my disposal? And the tools at my disposal are, generally speaking, not great. Because when I say tools at my disposal, I mean my generals, you know, the members of your Roman family. And some of them are going to be great. Some of them, they get lucky, they have a good genetic trait, or they spend enough time in a city with a good academy. They get very good and very reliable. But sometimes you just need somebody to man an outpost, and then you kind of forget about them for 20 turns, and then by the time you get back, they'll have gone through like 5 marriages, gained 200 pounds, and now they're talking to bees. I'm not even joking about that. All of the flavor text for the like going insane traits is wonderful. There's one where like a dude has started living in a giant urn because he is convinced that the sun has become his rival, and so he wishes to spend his life in shadow. There's one where a guy starts drowning spiders in vinegar.
So that's where that jar guy from Elden Ring came from.
Alexander, the warrior jar. But yeah, like, it's very fun, of course, when you have good, reliable people doing good work. It is equally good fun to realize, oh, the Germans are attacking? Okay, I could probably deal with that. Who do I have up there? Oh, no, not him. Please, and anyone but... Oh, really? I have to use Gaius Nobilior? I have to use this guy where, like, if you sneeze on him, he dies? Really? That is always just such a delightful layer. And, like, if you really, really want to, you can try to avoid some of that shenanigans by, like, rotating your generals around and whatnot. But that is honestly a lot of work and, broadly speaking, not really worth it. And I think it's more fun when there are unpredictable elements. I think it is more fun that, like, twice over the course of an entire campaign, you'll get blindsided by the fact that, like, oh, one of your generals was bribed, actually, by an enemy faction, and you don't have them anymore, and good luck with that. Or, you know, once or twice over the course of a campaign, a spy will sneak into one of your cities. That's common enough. But then they'll actually, like, be able to open the gates when the enemy attacks. So your entire, like, defensive structure has suddenly lost a lot of its integrity, as it were. Like, they don't need ladders, they don't need siege towers, they don't need battering rams, because the gates are already open. I do think Rome Total War, not a perfect game. There's little things about it that are a little broken once you realize that's how they work. And also, it does need to be said, Total War games I don't think they have a reputation for being buggy, and they don't deserve a reputation for being buggy. They do kind of deserve a reputation for being a little bit buggier than they should be. Like, they're always just a little tiny bit unpolished. A big one in Rome Total War, and this is something that the remaster, for the record, goes to great lengths to fix, but I was playing the original. The big one is cities can have different levels of walls, and the fifth and final level of wall is pretty ridiculous, but the fourth level is probably... you probably won't see a lot of cities go to level 4 walls. A lot of stuff you'll conquer either when it's only got level 3 or when they've upgraded all the way to level 5. Level 4 is pretty rare. Siege towers can get stuck on those in a weird way, because normally the way it works is your troops will push a siege tower up to a wall, then they climb up the tower, the ramp will come down, and now they're on the enemy walls. Pushing the tower to the wall, that's fine. But if it's a level 4 wall, the troops can really, really struggle with the whole climbing up the wall thing. As in, like, it will take 12 minutes for them to get up the towers. And that's assuming you spend that entire time repeatedly clicking on the tower to remind them this is a thing to do, because by default they forget. That's,
no.
Yeah, not a fun bug. It's not guaranteed to happen. It's only once in a blue moon. But it is very annoying when it does happen. And in general, I do recommend saving before every fight in these older Total War games, just in case there is that kind of bug. See also instances where, like, the enemy attacks you, so you'd think, you know, when the fight starts, the onus is on them to attack you, and you've got a good defensive position, you're going to be fine, so long as you don't have to attack them. But then the enemy just sits there, and this battle will not end until somebody breaks. So then it's like, but they're the ones who attacked me. Why? It can be very annoying sometimes. But only sometimes is the thing. I don't want to make it sound like these games aren't fun to play, because they really are. And there's a lot of fun to be had with things like... I mentioned the generals earlier, but their different traits and how they can get kind of wacky. I love that in Rome, that shows in the pre-battle speeches, because your general always gives a speech before the battle.
Nice.
And so And like they try their best to make it like contextually relevant. Like, we have a great many archers here, so we must put them on the high ground to utilize it wisely. Okay, sure, relevant. But if your general just sucks, the speech just sucks. And it's so funny. Like, he'll just be like, I didn't want to be here today either, but my mother told me that I had to be. So, I'm here.
Do any of their madnesses show through in the speeches? Is there, like, the guy who talks to bees, does he mention, like, oh yes, my great friends, the honeybees, have told me that our best strategy for this is to put all the archers on horses and have them right up the walls? Like...
Yes, actually. Like,
nice.
Like, there is... I want to say... at least once I heard one where, like, oh, the seer read the liver of an eagle today, which was a thing that Romans actually did. They would, like, try to fortune tell through, like, reading the liver of a wild animal. And they told us the portents were terrible. So then I read their liver, and the portents were great, actually. So let's go!
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Spoilers, the battle did not actually go very well. But I digress.
That's what we call confirmation bias, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like, if you're looking for the kind of strategy where there's a lot of depth with, say, tech trees, this is a little too early in the franchise for that. Like, that sort of long-term, what kind of, like, what are you interested in pursuing sort of strategy, that would show up around, like, Empire Total War. And to be fair, that's one of the things that they do really well in Shogun 2. Again, Shogun 2 is a pretty good game if you can stomach the sameness of it. This is a little bit before that, so the idea of, researching technologies and whatnot is not really present. It's mostly just a matter of getting your population in your cities up so that they can get big enough that you unlock, like, the high-level buildings in order to access more powerful units. And the unit variety is probably my favorite thing about Rome Total War. Like, there's obvious things, like, oh, are there legionaries who have throwing spears and short swords? Yep, obviously. But there's also a unit of pigs that you set on fire. You might be asking, why would you ever need to do that, pray tell? In case you're fighting elephants. Because there is one historical account where Romans were able to make elephants panic by taking pigs, strapping, like, bundles of wood to their backs, coating them in pitch, and then setting them on fire. Sad for the pigs, but I assume everybody had a lot of bacon that night. And it worked. The elephants panicked from the screaming pigs and the fire, and they ran away. And because one dude took the time to write that down 2,000 years ago, it is now my problem. But I love how, like, little things are in there. Like, there's, in fact, a secret region even in the game. I say secret, like, you can see it on the map. It's just not immediately clear how you even get there. But yeah, way, way up in the northeast, sort of around where I'm willing to be wrong about this, but sort of around modern-day Latvia, there's a very hard-to-access region with a city in it called Themyscira.
Ah.
Inhabited entirely by Amazonian charioteers. That's just there as an Easter egg for people to find.
Exciting.
And the amount of just historical nerdery going on is something I really, really appreciate. Because sometimes it's gameplay relevant. Like, if we know for a fact that in the year 221 BC there was a plague in Antioch, then the game is going to have plague break out in Antioch in 221 BC.
Nice.
Ask me how I know. It was 2 turns after I took Antioch. But sometimes it's just little things that don't matter at all, but the game throws them in because if you're playing a game about Romans, that probably means you're a nerd. So yeah, you probably want to hear that, like, Archimedes invented this crazy, like, screw-like pumping device to get water up a ramp. And you can ignore that with, or like dismiss it with 2 clicks, 1 click even if you want. But the passion for the subject matter always really shows through. Like, it's a game for history nerds by history nerds, and I can overlook things like the occasional gameplay bug and whatnot in order to receive that little boost. Also, I really like the expansion pack, Barbarian Invasion. Rome Total War got 2 expansion packs. One was Alexander, which honestly not really my thing. It's kind of fun, but not particularly. Barbarian Invasion is a lot more fun because it jumps into the future a little bit towards the, like, split of the Roman Empire into East and West. The Western Roman Empire campaign in Barbarian Invasion is one of the hardest things I have ever had to do in a video game, and I'm not, like, that might have been about as hard as the Hollow Knight randomizer, I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
Yeah, because you start with basically half the empire on the verge of revolt, and revolt is really bad because when cities go rebel, they stop paying taxes. So first you have a revolt, and then you have a giant economic crash. And there's so many enemies to fight, including horde factions. And also enemies, there's factions where they have settled at the start of that campaign, and then you're like, all right, this is the last Frankish territory, I'm going to wipe out the Franks now. Yeah, it turns out the Franks are a horde faction, and you just, like, made them a horde, and now they're going to march on you. And it's, like, it's a very difficult campaign, the Western Roman campaign. There's other campaigns in Barbarian Invasion as well that aren't nearly as hard, but Western Roman, I think they deliberately went out of their way to make it about as challenging as they can without being actually unfair about it, to the point where the only other campaign they've ever done in any Total War that gets close is the Western Roman campaign in Total War Attila, which was explicitly based on this one. But even then, it's not just, we made it hard because we know you like it hard. No, like, there is still the same historical nerdery that was there in the base game is still here. Like, there is a special event if the Western Roman Empire pulls out of Britain, for example, which is very likely, honestly, given how, it's not impossible to hold on to Britain, but it's very likely that you'll have to pull back just because most of the empire is kind of on fire at the start of that campaign. And if you do, a new faction will pop up, the Romano-British, who were, like, essentially the Romans who did not go back home and tried to start their own civilization on the British Isles, which was an actual thing that happened. And by the same token, there's entire factions that you may never see because they have those kinds of special triggers. Like, you know, if the Goths get wiped out, they become a horde faction, and then if they resettle, which horde factions can do, they will become the Ostrogoths. Things like that. Like, it's just, it's very, very fun, very good historical nerdery with genuinely also very fun tactical, like, strategy gameplay as well. Cavalry is a little bit overpowered, but other than that, like, it's pretty well balanced, all things told. And Barbarian Invasion actually does a lot to address the cavalry issue, to be fair. And my favorite thing of all is the game keeps a curveball in the back pocket for people who know it well. Because okay, there's factions that will turn into big hordes if you wipe out their last territory, so the smart thing to do is just get them down to one territory and keep them there, right? That way they're small, they're tiny, they're not that important. And the way the layout of all the factions works is you'll probably have, like, a little pizza, as a pizza slice of them sort of in the northeast, where, like, each topping is one faction. So you have one territory that's Franks, one territory that's Goths, one territory that's, like, the Roxolani, etc., etc. All good. And then about 100 years or 200 turns into that campaign, the Slavs show up. In the same way that the Mongols show up in Medieval 2. They just become this, there's just this giant horde faction coming from the east that's going to steamroll their way across a lot of land, and you've just set up this little mountain of tiny, weak, insignificant territories for them to crack open like eggs, and out will come like 4 or 5 new horde factions because you've prepared a lovely dinner for them.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like, it's... Because if you've made your way through the early game and didn't die from the revolts and the economic collapse and the plague, did I mention there's plague? There's so much plague. Like, if you actually manage to recover from that and rebuild your empire, you will probably be, like, the strongest thing on the map, except for maybe the Eastern Roman Empire, which has an easier time of it. So, what can the game do in the back half to still be challenging? That's what. Like, you'll either have one big horde faction and you'll be okay at facing them because you've been whittling away the other horde factions, or you're doing super well and you'll have to fight like 5 horde factions at once, and the game is surprisingly well balanced that way. So you cannot get the original version of Rome Total War or of Barbarian Invasion on Steam anymore. You can get the remaster, like I said, and that does include Barbarian Invasion, and I want to say Alexander as well.
Here's a fun fact for you that I was looking up while you were talking. You cannot get Rome Total War Gold, which is original plus Barbarian Invasion. You can also not get the complete edition, which is all 3. You can just get Alexander by itself still. Like, that one's still listed.
Interesting. Interesting.
Which seems like more of an oversight than anything else.
Maybe that was a different publisher or something? I'm not sure. But regardless, I do sincerely recommend the remaster for everybody except for people who already own the original. If you already own the original, do your research to make sure that you're actually gonna, like, not just drive yourself up the wall like I did. And I fully admit that's very much a me thing. Like, I fully admit that's just my autism being very sensitive to, like, no, I remember it being this way. Why won't it let it be? Why won't the game let me make it this way again? So that's why I sort of had to go back to the old version. But the remaster is genuinely very good, very fun, and I do think Rome... Like, I'm not normally actually a strategy person by and large, but the Total War series is an exception to that rule. Like I said, I think Medieval 2 is probably my favorite, but Rome is really high up there for me as well. I think later Total War games do a good job trying to add more character and personality to it. Like the Total Warhammer games are bursting with personality at the seams. And while I didn't think it was necessarily a great gameplay experience, I did really like how much Total War 3 Kingdoms leaned into the whole romance of the 3 Kingdoms. That one's set in China, and it has 2 modes, either Records of the 3 Kingdoms, which is more historically accurate to what actually happened, and then there's Romance of the 3 Kingdoms, which leans into, well, the romanticization of those events in the classic Chinese novel Romance of the 3 Kingdoms. So in that version, Lu Bu will just kill 1,000 people in a single day if you let him. And honestly, like, it's that aspect of it is a lot of fun. So, like, I think the series is still experimenting in fun ways to this day, but I think if you want a baseline, good, solid strategy experience, Rome and Medieval 2 are very, very good places to start. Highly recommended.
Nice.
Nice. And on that note, that is it for this episode of the Gamepodular Unfocused podcast. I have been your host. Thank you, Sesko. Thank you, Hilko, for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I always have a great time on Unfocused.
thank you for having here. It was great to be me.
Fantastic. And we'll catch all of you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Gamepodular Unfocused podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps us get noticed. You can also listen and subscribe on other podcast services such as Spotify. Make sure to check our other show, N-Focus. Be sure to join our Discord server to interact with the lively Gamepodular community. Follow us on Mastodon, Blue Sky, YouTube, Twitch, and at Gamepodular.com for updates, news, and other content. Links are in the show notes. If you'd like to support our shows, you can buy us a coffee or become a Gamepodular Patreon. The details for both are on our website. This episode was edited by myself, and you can follow me on Blue Sky at Scotty J-Man. You can also follow Hilka on Blue Sky at Gear12Turbo or on Mastodon at Gear12Turbo at kind.social. You can follow Seskra at Seskra the Spider at bsky.social, albeit at your own risk. Thanks for listening.